Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the second official momentum session. Now, right off the bat, I just want to start by thanking Marlon for leading the first session. It was unbelievable. He did such an amazing job. We had over 100 people on live. Unbelievable session. It ended up getting over 300 views, which is almost the entire room of GYLP, which is amazing. Now, today, my name's Sergio. I'll be presenting on going forward home. And we talk about that at GYLP a lot, but I don't know if it gets enough attention to what that really means and how to do it specifically. Now, the last session, at the very end, I explained how these are going to work. So I'm going to explain this right off the bat at the beginning. We're going to have a momentum session once a month for the entire year. We're going to have different speakers, from actual speakers from the stage at GYLP, some team leaders, even some coaches. And then we're going to have panels every other month. And the first panel is in 2 weeks, and that's the team leader panel. So we're going to have a bunch of team leaders, all basically in an open question and answer format. Then we're going to have a coach panel, a youth leader panel, an alumni panel, and then a leader of the week panel. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, so get ready. Now, I've got to thank the board of directors of the momentum sessions. We've got Rachel Bell, Ashley Stone, Nath, and Ariana. And Ariana is actually going to be helping me out with the questions. So here she is. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
All right. And all of those people have displayed amazing levels of leadership for me to have selected them. Ariana was the MVP of the sessions last year. We did them weekly, and she was on every single week, no exception, asking questions, commenting, the most active person by far. Rachel led 4 of them as a speaker. She did 2 of them joint, and she did 2 full sessions, and she was the first, or I think the second person to step up to lead one, and when she was just a youth leader, which is amazing. She's grown so much. She was a speaker at the GYLP in Australia. Unbelievable person. And then Ashley and Nath both basically help run the coaches at GYLP, which is not the easiest job in the world. They're unbelievable at creating things, getting situations handled. So I got to thank all of those guys for help. Now, the question process in the GYLP Momentum Sessions Facebook group, there's a post pinned to the top, and it's the link to this video. So if you're watching this, that's probably how you arrived here. Under that post in the comments, that's where you're going to answer questions, ask any questions that you have of your own, and just comment things and connect. Now, I have a question for you guys right off the bat. Why is it important to keep the standard that you set for yourself at GYLP? Comment that in that comment box, pinned to the top of the Momentum Session Facebook group. Ariana's going to type out that question, so if you showed up late, you can see it there. Why is it important to keep the standards you set for yourself at GYLP? The decisions you made for yourself, the promises that you told yourself you were going to keep, the because I said I would cards that you filled out. Why is it important? Write it down. We're going to get to them at the end of my talk, so make sure you guys post your little comment. Now, on top of that, and you don't have to comment this, right, but do write it down for yourself, what would it mean to live the rest of your life like that? If when you're 80 years old in your rocking chair and you're looking back on your life, what would it mean for you to have lived your entire life at that standard that you set for yourself? The beliefs you broke through at the Dickens or during the board break, what if you completely eliminated those and lived your entire life like that? What would that mean? What would that look like? You can comment it if you want, but at least at bare minimum, write it down for yourself. And what would it mean if you don't? What would it mean if you went back home and you didn't go forward home? If you went back home to your old peer group, your old habits, your old beliefs, what would that mean? You don't have to comment that, but if you do, feel free. Now, the last comment that I want, or the last question I want you guys to comment is, what will you commit to do to make it happen? The standards that you set for yourself, what action are you going to take that you're going to commit to make that happen? Because ideas are great, but everyone has ideas. It's execution, it's taking action that actually matters. Anyone can have an amazing idea, but to actually execute on it, commit to doing something and then do it, that's a whole other game. So feel free to post that one in the comment section too, and then we'll get to them at the end. Now, right off the bat, I just want to give you guys the two key elements to going forward home. And this is just in my own experience. This is what made the difference for me. This isn't an official theory or anything. I just made this up, but this is what it did it for me. The two key factors that contribute the most to going forward home are peer group and your habits. Say it again. The contributing factors, the two key factors to going forward home are peer group and habits. Now I'm going to take you guys on a little journey of the 4 times that I went home. Some of them were back home, some of them were forward home. And I'm going to share with you guys the key differences that I think made the difference of why I thought it was going back home versus going forward home. Now, I went to GYLS when it was called GYLS. It used to be called the Global Youth Leadership Summit, my first year in 2012. My brother and sister had both gone 2 years prior. When they both first went, I was 20, so I was too old to go as a participant, but too young to go as a coach. You have to be at least 22, so I had to wait 2 full years. By the time I was 22 and I could go for my first year, they were both youth leaders. And so my first year was amazing. It was the greatest time ever. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what to expect as a coach. I just kind of went because they both kept saying it was the greatest thing ever. And so I had an amazing time. And then when I went home, and even before this, actually, I have to say, as a coach, you're not in the room the whole time. You're not even in the room half the time. I would say maybe 10 to 20%, maybe a quarter of the time if you're lucky on like water team or something. You're barely in the room, so you're not getting a ton of the content. I didn't even know what going forward home meant my first year, really. And so my first year, quite honestly, I went back home. I went back to my old friends. Some of them were in trouble with the law. Some of them weren't making the best choices. And they're all beautiful souls. They're all amazing people. I love all of them. And it's possible that amazing people make bad choices. That's just how it is. I also went back to my old habits. And I was 22. I was a grown man. The drinking age here is 19. So I was several years old enough. And so I was at a party the week before GYLS, partying, drinking, went to GYLS and had 2 parties there where you don't drink at all. And it's the greatest time ever. And then the weekend right after went right back to drinking. That's just what it is. And then swearing. At GYLS, I actually created a game with my home team. And some of you guys who are on here, if any of you ever happen to see this, what up, first year home team? You guys know who you are. 2012, Isaiah, Benji, Nick. We made a game called the Diamond Push-Up Game where I know for the M word, you guys do 10 push-ups. We had a game where you do diamond push-ups where you actually push like that. It's a lot harder. Just 2 of them anytime you slip out a bad word. And the purpose of that game was just to become aware, to become cognizant of the fact that you are using words where other words could have been more effective. It's about having a more extensive vocabulary and being able to articulate your words in a more effective way than just using a random generic swear word that fits into 15 different categories. So that was my first year. I went back home, quite honestly, back to my old friends, back to my old habits. Now, my second year was a different story. This was my second time being a coach, so I knew what to expect at GYLS. Both my brother and sister were now youth coaches, so we were all kind of hanging out together, which was awesome. I knew a bunch of the people there from last year, and I met a whole bunch of new people. And I met a new friend, and his name is Luis. Unbelievable dude. And he's actually my age because a lot of the coaches at GYLS are either youth coaches who are significantly younger than me or significantly older in their 30s and 40s. There wasn't a lot of people in their 20s, and I was 23 at the time. And so I met Luis, who's exactly my same age, which was awesome because he's the only other person even kind of remotely in my age group. And so we made sure that we would stay in touch after GYLS the whole year. My first year, I would maybe Skype friends from GYLS maybe once a month, not even. With Luis, what we did was make weekly calls, and I'll get into that in a second. Now, so I made new friends, but also, and Marlon talked about this in the last session, loving people from a distance. I realized that I had to change something, and I couldn't just go back to my old friends because sometimes you need to know when you need to pull yourself out of a certain environment. Now, after that second GYLS, I decided that I was going to quit drinking and I was going to quit swearing. And I didn't do that for anyone else but myself. And people were like, "Are you nuts? Like, why would you quit drinking? You're 23, like you're a kid." For me, at 23 years old, 99% of people are wasted every weekend. That's just the reality in the world that we live in. That's just society. And for me, it wasn't even about um, I don't even know. For me, the reason I quit really was integrating myself as one person. I felt like I was this one person on the one hand with like my family and some friends and like at my job and stuff, and then with this other group of friends, I was like a different person. I literally felt like two people. And same with swearing. I would have one vocabulary with my parents at my job at GYLS, and then I had this other vocabulary where we're basically dropping the F-bomb every single sentence, hundreds and hundreds of times a day, if not probably thousands, who knows. And I felt like it was just incongruent. It was two different people. And so my main outcome, my objective was actually to just become one integrated person in terms of vocabulary and then in terms of, I guess, basically drinking, some of my habits. And so for me, swearing especially was just about elevating my vocabulary. If I could articulate my thoughts in a more effective way, if I just had a more extensive vocabulary, when I was feeling something, I could choose more, I had more choice of words than just certain swear words that most people use to describe how they're feeling. Now, another habit, so those are two habits that I stopped doing, drinking and swearing. Something I started doing was the weekly calls, which I just talked about, which now I'm going to bring back up. With Luis and I on I think it was the same time, Saturdays, 10 a.m., pretty much every week, pretty close to every week for an entire year. That second year, we would have weekly Skype calls and other people would get on here and there. We had Omid, Rachel, Mary, Nick Marino, Maria even was on there a couple times. A whole bunch of people would get on here and there, but Luis was the dude. He was the one who actually set it up. He was the organizer of it. And we would get on, we would set goals for each other for the week, because monthly or even yearly goals are really big and hard to see the whole vision sometimes. But a weekly goal, I'm going to write 5 pages this week of my book. I'm going to work out 3 times and eat healthy and only cheat 2 times or something like that. We would set these weekly goals that were clearly measurable and easy to achieve. We would celebrate our achievements of the week, because a lot of friends, when you tell them something great that happened, they're like, "Oh yeah, good for you." But to have a group of people that you can celebrate achievements with, that aren't going to judge you, that's a special thing. So we would celebrate our achievements and we would be hyped for each other. And then we would give each other challenges, which was awesome. These guys would challenge like the weirdest things, make a video, go do hot yoga or something, just weird stuff, but it was awesome. The point being, I created a new habit of Skyping this peer group weekly, every week, and we scheduled it and it was real and it was awesome. Now, my third year going home, again, I went forward home, and I realized that second year I went forward home, but I realized a lot of people didn't. A lot of people go back home. Maybe you're one of the people watching right now that feels like maybe you might have gone back home. And so I realized that there was a need to help other people go forward home. GYLS, or now GYLP, is 1 week long, but it's what you do the other 51 weeks of the year that matters. It's your life, right? Like in a year, you can have one amazing week, but what if you had 52 amazing weeks? What would your year look like? And then, I don't know, 80 or whatever amazing years. When you're in your rocking chair at 80, that's what counts. So it's what you do every day that matters. So I realized I needed to help people. I wanted to help people have this experience that I had of going forward home, because I'd experienced going back home. I'd experienced going forward home, and clearly every single time I would choose going forward home. So what I did was create these sessions for you guys, for everyone, the momentum sessions. And last year, they were last year, they were weekly. And I had 2 main outcomes for them. The first outcome, obviously, was to add value to all the viewers, teach a skill. We would do like probably a half an hour talk on any different topic that the speaker was an expert in. And then we would have like a half an hour Q&A of people just asking random questions, connecting, saying hi and stuff. And it was awesome. So that was the first outcome, to add value to the viewers. The second outcome was actually to give people the opportunity to lead a session, because it's not the easiest thing when you've never spoken in front of a crowd or never led a webinar. I'm kind of just talking to myself right now. It's kind of weird, but I know that there's people here watching. I'm picturing you guys watching, and I know some of you are on live right now. I'm imagining talking to you right now. I wanted to give the opportunity to people to step up, and it was anyone. And we had speakers. We had Sarah from Compassionate. We had team leaders. We had Harry Singa do a momentum session live from his event from, I forget where it was, I think London. From his event that he was running, he did a session live, which was awesome. We had coaches. We had youth coaches, youth leaders, alumni, and we even had ambassadors. Ariana, who's running the questions right now, being an ambassador who led a session last year. So I wanted to give the opportunity to everyone to lead a session. Some of them were amazing, and well, actually all of them were amazing. But the fact that so many people had the opportunity to lead an international session, from people watching all over the world, Europe, Australia, Africa, North and South America, was awesome. So that was my outcome for that third year, to help other people go forward home also. And now this fourth year, which was this past GYLP, I wanted to continue doing the momentum sessions. Originally, I was just going to do it for the 1 year, but then I realized how valuable they were, how powerful it was, and I was like, I can't just not do this. I have to continue doing it. But I wanted to canai it, because I believe in constant and never-ending improvement. There's always ways to make it better. So I asked myself, how can I make it even better? And I realized that a lot of the people weekly for an hour was a little bit challenging to get on, especially if you're in Australia and it's like midnight right now. For those of you in Australia right now, I salute you guys. And in LA at like 7 in the morning, 7:20 right now, good job for getting on. You guys, this is the first step to keeping your momentum going and going forward home. So what I did was basically created it monthly instead of weekly. And that way it would have more anticipation. It wouldn't be an hour a week. It's just an hour a month. You guys can give me 12 hours of your year to ensure that you guys go forward home. I know you can give yourself that gift. I feel like with a monthly, there would be more active viewers. And that's what my board of directors, Rachel, Ashley, Ariana, and Nath, helped me out with, was deciding like who we were going to book when and how often we were going to do it. And I was just going to do it monthly. And then I realized there's so many more people that wanted to do it. So I had to add in the panels in between the mid-month. So it's 12 plus another like 5 or 6 sessions. A little bit less than 52, but hopefully that system works out good for you guys. Now, I think, and this is just my own belief, I have no idea, but I think that running those momentum sessions once a week, every week for an hour for a whole year, was a big factor of why I was chosen to be a team leader. I didn't ask to be a team leader. I had already fully applied to be a coach, paid the fee, almost bought my flight for when the coaches need to arrive, done the full like 4 pages of applications, and then they asked me to be one. I had no idea that they were going to ask me. And obviously there was lots of other factors that were involved, but those sessions, I think, were a big reason. And the reason is because it's not about how you show up the 1 week you're at GYLP. It's how you show up all year. It's how you live your life, right? Anyone can show up for a week and be amazing, but it's how you live your life that matters. And so the whole point of these sessions is to ensure that the other 51 weeks that you're not at GYLP, you're holding yourself to that standard that you set. That's my main outcome for being on here right now, Saturday morning, talking to you guys. Now, how do we ensure we go forward home? That was just my little journey, my story of the 4 years of going home back and forth for GYLP. How do we ensure we go forward home? I think there's 2 key things. Clearly, you guys saw a pattern: peer group and habits. I can't stress those 2 things enough. I'm sure there's other factors that might have helped, but those 2 things were the biggest things for me. Now, peer group. I would start off by just saying stay connected, because our peer group is all over the world. It's not highly unlikely, but it's hard to have people close to you at GYLP. And I'm blessed that I have 2 of my peer group living with me, my brother and sister, Juan and Ariana, both youth leaders, youth coaches. Juan got youth coach of the year or the week or whatever. won an award for being amazing. Mariana is amazing too. She was the youth leader of the alumni and then the coach of the senior alumni, both unbelievable peer group. Sometimes you're not blessed to have the greatest peer group in your immediate family. And so what Tony says is you have to love your family, choose your peer group. And so choosing your peer group is so important. And you guys have an unbelievable network of a peer group through GYLP. So just stay connected. I'm telling you, schedule Skype calls weekly, at least bare minimum monthly or every other week. You don't even have to set a time for it, but just get on Skype with someone often. And stay connected on Facebook. There's so many amazing resources. I honestly believe this is why Facebook was made. Facebook wasn't made to just scroll your news feed and just watch random stuff that people share and post that's negative. We have so many incredible groups, and I know a lot of you guys probably aren't super hyped on having so many groups, but I freaking love it. We have the official group run by Shane and Amanda from the foundation. It's a secret group, and so if you're watching this and you went to GYLP this year and you're not in that group yet, send me a message. I'll get you in there. We've got Felix running the grads group, and that's basically a network of everyone who's ever been to GYLS, GYLP, and even Discovery Camp for the past, I think, like 15 years. There's like 700 people, but there's over 2,000 grads. So if you know anyone, if you have a friend who's been and isn't in that group, add them. Make sure everyone gets in that group because that's an awesome network of people to have. And then we've got the little side fun groups. We've got the Geek Challenge run by Isabel and Mickey. Shout out to you guys for making that. We've got the Because I Said I Would group made by Cami. We've got the Gratitude Challenge made by Ariana. We've got the Anonymous Compliment Box run by Candy and now Maria. And we got the Magic Moments. Oh, I love that group. Probably biased because I made it. And then we got this one. So there's a ton of groups. And honestly, I have all of my notifications of everything on Facebook turned off, except for these groups. I have everything on. All of these groups, I wake up to tons of notifications from all of them. And it's great. From the Geek Challenge, you get a good laugh. From the Gratitude Challenge, you have new insight on what to be grateful for. You can be grateful for a sunset. It's the most simple thing. But unless you actually think about it, it's just a reminder to be grateful about things you might not have thought of. Magic Moments is amazing to share with people. I think that just 10 minutes of GYLP Facebook groups every day is the medicine you need to go forward home. It will keep you engaged. It'll keep you up to date with what people are doing, different achievements people are doing. Bella, I just commented the other day that she's running workshops and she needed some help. There's so many amazing things going on in those groups. If you just follow those groups alone, if you just use Facebook for those groups and just do that, that'll be massive momentum to go forward home. That'll keep you in the loop. I would turn on all of the notifications for all of those groups, and that may be nuts, and turn everything else off, like everything else. Don't ever go on Facebook and just scroll your newsfeed indefinitely for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes, go clear all the notifications in all those groups. Read the long stories. I know Raph posts these long stories in Magic Moments, which is awesome. A couple other people are too. Mickey and Emily post summaries of their Magic Moments of the week, which is amazing. A whole bunch of Geek Challenge things, people posting in the official group, Luis going on trips, raising money, like all of those things. If you stay involved in all that, you read what people are doing, you like and comment stuff, trust me, that's how you stay connected. Turn on your notifications for those Facebook groups. I'm telling you, that will make a big difference. So that's peer group. Skype people, turn on your notifications on Facebook. Now, habits. We all remember repo, and I actually just learned repo for the first time this year, like 10 minutes before I got on stage to do the thing, which is funny because as a coach, you're never in the room when that's happening. So just to give you guys a quick recap, repo is how you make a habit, and you start with repetition, then it becomes easy. Once it's easy, you get pleasure from it, and once you get pleasure, you want to do it often, and then it becomes a habit. And I love repo, and I think there's one little aspect missing from repo, and that's the why. It's how you get yourself to even do the repetitions. Because let's say you want to create the habit of going to the gym every day. To get yourself to do the repetitions and to go to the gym every single day, you have to have a pretty strong reason why. I just recently started going again to the gym at 6 in the morning with my brother and my mom. And because Huang's been at it at the gym like every day, hasn't missed a day for months now. It's amazing. And I've been on and off with the gym. I would have like a period of like a couple months, and then I would get really injured from skateboarding or snowboarding where I can't go for a solid month. And then it's hard to get back into the habit. And so just last week, I went every day, 6 in the morning. And that's the repetition you need for it to become easy. And then you get pleasure from it and you want to do it often. You feel really good when you work out in the morning. You wake up and then you just feel great. To get yourself to even go to the gym 4 or 5 times in a row in the morning, to get that repetition, you have to have a really strong reason why. And so that's why right off the bat, I started with the question. Again, why is it important to keep the standards you set for yourself at GYLP? I asked it at the beginning. I'll ask it again for those of you who are just watching now or tuning in now or missed it at the beginning for whatever reason or just didn't feel like answering it. Answer it again. Why is it important to keep the standards you set for yourself at GYLP? And what will it mean to live the rest of your life like that? Now, there's habits that we need to start doing, some habits we need to continue doing, and some habits we need to stop doing. And you need to be able to separate those three. And shout out to Katie Pitts for her session last year. Can't remember when, but she did a whole session on this, and it was amazing. So if you want more on habits, starting, continuing, and stopping, go watch her session. It was amazing. Really great session. Some things that I started doing was Skyping Luis weekly. That was a habit that I developed. I started doing that was amazing, made a massive difference. Some things I continued doing were working out. It was kind of on and off, but I was working out fairly consistently, so I continued to do that. I made sure that I repoed it and I got lots of repetitions in so it became easy, got pleasure, and then did it often. And then some things I stopped doing were drinking and swearing. That's not for everyone. I'm not recommending you guys to do that. It's whatever works for you. I'm not telling you what to start or stop doing. I'm actually telling you to start Skyping people though, actually. But start whatever habits you want to start doing. Stop whatever you feel you need to stop, and continue doing whatever feels good, and give yourself some props for actually doing that. So to recap, because I know I talked pretty quick for half an hour, I wanted to get everything in to have a good solid half an hour of question time. 2 key elements: peer group, I don't know if I've drilled that in enough, and habits. And I remember when I was younger, probably your age actually, at like 15, 16, 17, my dad would tell me, who you surround yourself with is who you become. And I hated that saying. I hated that saying because I felt that even though I may hang out with people who I guess needed help, I could raise them up. And that's true to an extent. And Jim Rohn says you need all 3 kinds of people: people who are above you that you can learn from, mentors; people that are beside, or I guess equal, which is not the greatest language, but people who you can bounce ideas off of, who are friends and who you can hang out with; and then people who you can help raise up. You need all 3 of them in your life. If you're surrounding yourself with too many people who you need to help raise up, in order for you not to lose their love, you're going to lower your standards to be cool with them. I don't know if that makes sense. Jim Rohn can elaborate more on that. You want to surround yourself ideally with the majority of people as mentors, as many people as you can as mentors. I've surrounded myself a lot with people way, way above me, making way more money, way older, with way more wisdom. A lot of people that are that I can bounce ideas off of and just be friends with and hang out with. And it's not that I've distanced myself from people that I need to raise up. There's still a bunch of them, and I love them from a distance, and I help them when I can. But you don't want that to be the main focus of your peer group. 80% of your peer group is there. You want to have, I would suggest, more than half as mentors, and then the rest as friends you can hang out with and bounce ideas off of. So that's the session for today. That's my talk. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey of going forward and back home. And here's Ariana. I think we might have a question or two, maybe. Are you muted? Okay.
No, I was waiting for you to finish. Okay.
All
So there are some people that replied to they answered your question. Why is it important to keep the standard you set for yourself at GYLP? Stella said it is important because your standards become your habits and your habits become your actions. which have long-lasting effects on your life, which I totally agree with. Nia said, it is important because if you don't, GYLP wouldn't have the same impact on your life the way that you wanted it to while you were there. It is easy to fall back into old habits and patterns. If you change your bad habits, you can definitely change your life for the better. And Henrik said, because GYLP opens doors for everyone to do great things. Now, keeping that standard is doing it and keeping the ripples going out for your family. So I agree with that. And then Rachel said, vision to reality, woo. So, and then Stella also asked a question and said, how can I help one of my friends who's been staying in her problems instead of finding the solutions? Great question.
That's a great question, Stella, and thank you guys for all of you who just commented, Stella, Nina, Henrik, and Rachel. Stella, how can I help one of my friends who's been staying in her problems? You can open the door, but they have to walk through it themselves. Tony uses an example which I don't necessarily love, but it is true to an extent. You can't save someone who's drowning. They have to be treading water, because if someone's drowning, like actually drowning, they're going to pull you under. They have to be treading water. And I don't actually love that example. I love the example of the door a lot better. You can open the door for her, but you can't push her through it. She has to walk through herself. What I would do for you, how do you help a friend who's been staying in her problems? I would just be an example. I would live your life as an example. You're either an example or a warning. So I would just be a role model for her. I would be an example, and eventually she's either going to ask you, why are you so happy all the time? How can I be that? Why are you so optimistic? Can you teach me how to do that? How are you so grateful all the time? Like, what are you focusing on that you're so grateful for all the time? Be that example. Just focus on you making yourself better, living your life. Because for me, I have the tools to do interventions on all kinds of people, but you don't just walk around. Who wants to change something? You you just live your life as an example, and then people will come up to you and ask you and they'll just ask you for help. So I think that's my answer. It would be more open the door for her. She has to walk through it, but you can be an inspiration for her to want to walk through it. You can be on the other side of the door and just be yourself and be amazing, and then she'll be pulled to want to walk through it. Open the door for her, let her know you're there for her, give her some insights here and there, but I wouldn't necessarily try and specifically coach her through her problems unless she asks for it. I would just be an example. That's my
Okay. So Rachel asked, how do you find people in real life that can hold you to your higher standards? People you can hang out with in person regularly?
That's an awesome question, Rachel. I wish I had a really good answer for it. In real life, really, Facebook, it's not like it's imaginary, like it's pretend. If you Skype someone, it's a real person in real life. Now, I know what you mean by like in day-to-day human conversation. How do you find people? I would first suggest it's where you go. If you go to a nightclub or a bar at 2 in the morning, you're not going to find a ton of people that are going to hold you to a higher standard. That may not necessarily be true. There's some, I've been at bars at 2 in the morning. I'm a team leader at GYLS, or GYLP or whatever. So it's possible to find people at bars at 2 in the morning, but it's your environment. It's where you go. If you go to the library to just hang out, you'll find people who are intellectual, who are reading. If you go, and I know most cities have a power group. Here we have the Toronto Power Group, which is actually one of the largest power groups in the world. We have over 1,000 people on our list. We have a couple hundred show up every time, and we do it once a month. And it's basically post UPW participants who go and all meet up, and we have a speaker. It's kind of like these momentum sessions, but live, actually, like in person, which is awesome. Those places, you can meet amazing people who are going to hold you to a higher standard. I'm pretty sure there's a Colorado power group. There pretty much must be. I'm not sure where the rest of you guys are at, but there's definitely power groups around. And So finding groups of people that are like-minded, you'll find people that can hold you to a higher standard. Going to events in your area. We just had Kayla and Chelsea come down to this event that Tony did. Forget what it was called. I think the Power of Success. There's like 5,000 people there who all went all day, took their day off on a Wednesday to go and see Tony and like 5 or 6 other speakers. Les Brown was there. Bob Proctor was there. There's 5,000 people who can hold you to a higher standard there. The UPW in LA in October is going to be something like 9,000 people who can hold you to a higher standard. That's a pretty good place to start, I would say. People you can hang out regularly with. If you go to UPW, it's usually people from all over. So I would aim for a meetup group that's in your area, some sort of Colorado power group for you, Rachel. That would probably be my first place to start. There's an app called meetup.com. I think the app is just called Meetup, but they have a website too. And you can just type in personal development, and there will be tons of meetups with that theme that you can go to. And hopefully that answers that.
Kayla said, Sergio, you should talk about how to deal with procrastination in order to start these habits besides accountability with another person. And then Rachel said, oh man, no more bars and nightclubs for me.
Well, even before I get to Kayla, Rachel, you can go to bars and nightclubs all you want. I just wouldn't necessarily specifically look for your peer group there. That's kind of the take on that, because you can go, like, if it's your friend's birthday, obviously you're not just going to avoid it because, oh my god, the peer group, like, whatever. I wouldn't go looking for a best friend at a bar or nightclub. You just go and socialize and have fun and go with your already current friends. Looking for a specific peer group, I would look in a intelligent place. That's what I mean. So you can still totally go to bars and nightclubs and whatever. Kayla, how to deal with procrastination in order to start these habits besides accountability. I'll give you an example. Procrastination, I think, comes down to just not having a strong enough why. If you're hanging out in a forest and you're just relaxing, and you know you need to leave soon, but you're kind of just lazy and you don't really want to, don't really have a really good reason. If there's a bear behind you, you're going to get up and run. That's a good reason to not procrastinate about leaving. If you have a strong enough reason why, and I forget who said this, I think it was Nietzsche. If you have a strong enough reason why, you can find almost any how. So procrastination in starting these habits comes down to having an emotionally charged reason why. A reason why it's not just a should, where you should probably do it, but it would be okay if you didn't. It's got to be a must, where if you don't, you're going to experience a lot of pain. That's the level of why you need. Because the only reason anyone does anything is for the desire to gain pleasure and the need to avoid pain. And pleasure is a desire, it's a want, but avoiding pain is a need. It's a biological instinct. So if you're procrastinating maybe going to the gym, or you're procrastinating doing your homework, you procrastinate doing your homework until it's due the night before, and you have enough pain where you're going to fail the class if you don't do it, and then you do it. You sit down and you do it. And I used to have a bunch of those. Actually, in my first and second year of university, I would crush papers like the night before, and I would crush like 5-10 pages of an essay in one sitting because it was a must. You had to do it. It was due tomorrow. And then I started doing, and I think in my fourth year, I finally figured out that the day I got the assignment, which was due in a month, I would crush it that day like it was due the next day. And then I would have it done for a whole month. And then I had a month to proof it. I would read the whole thing. I would switch a paragraph around. I would put in some references or whatever. It just comes down to having a why. I believe that that's how you just kill the procrastination monster. You get a strong enough reason why, where no matter what, you have to do it. And it's not even an option. If you feel like you have options, it's a should. I don't know, Kayla, if you want to give me an example of what habit you want to start, I can give you some examples of some reasons why that would maybe fire you up to actually do it. But for me, working out, I just told you, starting again last week, I started again at 6 in the morning every day. I've had phases where I've gone in the morning for months, and then I've gone at night for months. Like I've had like month long, like 5 or 6 months of going every day in the afternoon or in the evening or at night. The reason I just started again, I think it wasn't even like because I'm not healthy or because I'm gonna become overweight or whatever. It's because it was incongruent with who I was as a person. As an example, I can't not go to the gym and then tell people to be healthy or to be active or whatever. If I'm gonna be my best, it starts with being healthy and taking care of the only body that you have. So as soon as I realized that alone, not even anything to do with health, it was to do with identity. It's who I was. That was a reason enough for me to decide that no matter what, I was going to go to the gym, period. So Kayla, if you have an example for what you want to start, we can fire up some whys. So that's that.
Botana said how to stop procrastination and start taking actions, whether it's about studies or sports. And Stella said I have the same question.
Cool. So I kind of just went off on that, but we can go at it again. Again, it's why. So we'll go with studies because I kind of just gave that example. Hold on, let me show you guys this. I have my university degree hanging up there on my wall right there. And I would have never got that. I wouldn't have put myself through that if I didn't have a really, really strong reason why I needed to do that. And I didn't do that to get a job in that field. A lot of people don't end up getting jobs in the field that they study. I did it because I said I would, because I said that I was going to start something and then finish it. When you're in your 4th year, and I worked throughout my degree too. I would work 1 to 2 days a week. And so usually when people have a day off to study and like do all the homework, because they say 3 hours of class is 15 hours of outside of class work, I would be working too to pay for my car and to do whatever. And so when I would have things due and I would have to pull all-nighters or stay up like Thursday or Friday till like 2 or 3 in the morning studying or whatever, writing an essay, and then get up at 7 to go to class, you're not going to do that unless you have a really good reason. Just like in the bear in the forest, you're not going to run really fast unless there's a bear chasing you. So I would say for your studies and for sports, create a really big, scary bear that's going to chase you and make you do it. With how to stop procrastination and taking action about sports. I don't know if maybe you can elaborate on that question, because I understand what you mean procrastinating about your studies, not wanting to do your homework, but what do you mean about sports? Is it like not showing up to practice or not doing your best, or like what do you mean by procrastinating in terms of sports? So I don't know if you want to answer that. And Kayla, I'm still waiting on you for your habits. Now, Ariana, we're just going to put you, actually, I was about to put you on blast and put you on the spot. We'll put you on the spot in a second. Don't you worry.
Stella just said, how do I keep a positive mindset when stressed from school, family, or other situations that are bringing me down?
Positive mindset. Awesome. Yeah, and that's really important. And we all remember your state, right? From GYLP, and for those of you that might have forgotten, it's been 2 months. Your state is controlled by 3 things. Your emotions, your feelings have 3 factors. Your physiology first, which is the foundation, your focus, and your language. And so a positive mindset comes down to those 3 things. And I would specifically direct it toward focus. What you're focusing on is going to create the state. If you focus on what you're grateful for, you're going to feel very different than focusing on what could go wrong if something goes wrong, right? So a more specific example, when stress from school. So you're focusing on the fact that you don't have time to do all these things, because people say that you have to choose between like school, studies, and then friends, and then sleep, but there's actually like 15 different factors that you need to try and balance. It's nuts. Focusing on, you have all this work that you have to do and you don't have enough time to do it. And if you give all the time that you have to do your schoolwork, you're not going to have time to hang out with friends or to sleep very much. If you focus on that, you're going to have a very different feeling than focusing on, I'm blessed to even be allowed to study, like literally allowed, because some people are not allowed to study in the world today. They're not allowed to study. So you having the privilege of even the right to studying, to even be allowed to study, if you focus on that, you're going to have a different experience than if you focus on, oh, I don't have time to do all this homework, or I don't want to do it. I'd rather go hang out with my friends, right? Your focus, like what you choose to focus on, is going to affect your state and your mindset. And the way you direct your focus is through questions. You ask yourself, what could I be grateful for about studying right now? What could I be proud of that I've achieved in my studying high school career, university or college career? The questions you ask yourself, and especially your primary question, the main question you ask yourself about your study is going to direct how you feel about that subject most of the time. So if you've been asking, why don't I have time to, or how can I possibly get all this done? If you ask yourself that consistently, it's going to create a different feeling than, what can I remember that's true that I can be grateful for about studying? The fact that I'm actually allowed to study, the fact that I go to a school and I have books that I can read and that I've been given all this knowledge and it's at my fingertips, and I'm honestly blessed to be allowed to study. And trust me when I tell you, once you're done school, you're going to miss it and you're going to want to go back. And everyone I ever tell that to who's still in school is like, nah, no way, I can't wait to be out and start working and making money. I'm telling you, school is the time of your life. It's honestly the funnest thing. So just be present in the time that you have. Don't try and grow up too fast and get to the next stage, because once you get to the next stage, you're going to want to go back to the old stage. So hopefully that answers that.
Kyla said, personal goal to the bandana. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Bandana.
Okay, I'm working on two different writing projects. One being a novel. Some days I write 20 pages, then none weeks. I think yeah. I'm trying to get myself to write X number of pages a day and actually commit to it. And then she also said, I was seeing if you forgot. I don't like talking about my problems, Sergio.
Oh, of course I didn't forget. Yeah, Kayla's actually writing an amazing poetry book, which I didn't forget about, but I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that, so that's why I asked you. It's going to be amazing. So everyone watching this, you should definitely go check it out. Now, how do you get yourself to write? I have, I guess, not the same problem, but I am also writing a book that I don't consistently write all the time. And it's about consciously choosing where you spend your time instead of being at the mercy of things popping up on your to-do list and then just doing things. And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I didn't do any of the things I wanted to do because of all this other stuff that came up. When you can consciously choose where you direct your time, that's powerful. And so a lot of people are going to try and put things on your to-do list that you don't even want. And so you're going to have to find a balance between accepting those things. Some things you're going to have to do. Some things you get to choose more or less or shift. And then actually setting that on your list and scheduling it. That's a really big thing, because if you, and Marlon usually starts and ends his talks with, if you schedule it, if you envision it, it's possible. I forget, actually, hold on. I totally have his book right here, and we're going to read the quote because it's like right at the beginning. A vision without action is just a dream. Action without a vision is merely the passing of time, but a vision with action can change the world. You having your goal of writing, if it's a vision without any action, it's just a dream. You have a dream of your poetry book, but if it's just a vision without any action, that's all it is. And action without a vision is merely the passing of time. So all those things that you're doing, all those to-do list items that are taking up the time of writing, like let's say you want to write, like in your day of 24 hours, when you would have specific writing time, what else are you doing? Are you just sitting on the couch watching TV? Are you eating donuts? Are you babysitting? Like, what are you doing in that time that you could maybe dedicate to that instead? I know for me, I barely ever watch TV. I barely ever play video games. But there are times when I just want to chill, and I'll go and turn the TV on and not even watch it and just relax for an hour on my couch. That's time where I could be writing my book. And so there's pockets of time where you could be dedicating it to other things, but you're just maybe unconsciously dedicating it to something else. So my main suggestion would be become conscious of where you're dedicating your time. So many people say, I have no time to do this. But if you write down all the things you have to do in a day and you put, okay, laundry is going to take me 2 hours, and then cooking is going to take me half an hour, and then whatever this is going to take me an hour, you realize you have like 3 or 4 extra hours that you're just wasting every day in your day, which turn out to be weeks, months, and then even years of your life that are just spent doing things that aren't conscious. So the first step would be to become conscious of how you're spending your time. The second thing, again, would be the why. Why do you want to write your poetry book? Why is it important to you? And write down at least 20 reasons why. Because you want to be a best-selling author, because you want to touch people with your words, because you want to save a life through your words. There can be a ton of reasons because you just said you want to. A whole bunch of reasons. Write them down. Like, actually write them down. If you want to maybe comment one or two, you're actually, yeah, Kayla, I'm calling you out. Comment your biggest reason, the biggest number one, if you can only pick one reason why you must do that book. Not why you want to, because wanting to isn't going to make you finish it. Why you must finish it. And then that's going to help you with actually committing time consciously to writing X number of pages. And you also don't want to set a massive goal of, I'm going to write like, I don't know, 30 or 40 pages a day. Just write anything. Don't even really, like, you can set a goal, but just write however much you feel. Get in flow and then just write. And if you write more or less, it doesn't matter. Just write. Just sit down and schedule writing time. So that's my answer for that one.
And that's all the questions for now. I think everyone's just been hooked on what you've been saying, and because most of the questions, like, people can kind of branch off for their questions. So
yeah, a lot of this applies to the same stuff. I actually see here, Bhutania elaborated, how do you stop procrastinating? By sports missing practices, not having enough energy to practice after a long day of school. It's been like 50 minutes, so I'm going to get into this one and then one or two more questions. So if you have a burning question, post it now. Missing practices, not having enough energy. All of these things are a recurring theme that keeps coming down to why. We talk about repo, like repetition. If you go to enough practices, it becomes easy, then you get pleasure and you want to do it often. But to even start that, why? It's your reason why. That's honestly what it comes down to. Just having a reason why you need to go to practice. Like, why you need to go to practice. The best people in the world. I don't know if you guys have heard the Kobe story. I know Huang has shared it before, and I'll see if I can get him to give you that link and post it on there. Kobe wakes up at like 3 in the morning and goes to practice for like 3 or 4 hours before the normal practice. So he's already made like 100 free throws before anyone else on the team gets there. That's why he's one of the best in the world. Think about an NBA all-star, because a bunch of them are, and that's their designated practice. And he's like, no, that's not even enough. I have to go a couple hours before that to make 100 free throw shots or 100 3-pointers or whatever it was before that. Steph Curry, I know Eric Thomas talks about this. He made 77 free throws in a row. Think about in a row. That's nuts. I don't even know if I could do, not even free throws, but like 2-3 feet away, 77 in a row. 77 free throws in a row. That's why he can shoot them with his eyes closed in games, like in finals games. When you, like, in order to get yourself to do that, you have to have a massive reason why. Their reason is because they want to be the best in the world. That's their reason. And having that reason, that's the only reason you would do that. Like, why else would you practice 3 hours more than an NBA team already does? Because trust me, they practice a lot. To go even more than that, it's because you want to be the best. So for you, how do you get yourself to stop missing practices? Get on that Kobe mindset. Get to whatever sport it is that you play. Decide that if you want to be the best, and show up half an hour early to practice and stay a half an hour later if you're really committed to that why. And maybe you don't actually want to be the best. Maybe you just want to have fun, and that's your reason. And that might be your reason for not missing practice, because you want to have fun playing your sport, right? After a long day, again, like, that's just what it comes down to. It's your reason why. That's honestly any of these examples of how to stop procrastinating, how to get yourself to keep your momentum, how to go forward home. It's what it comes down to. It's your reason why. So I think with that, that's all the questions. Am I right, Ariana?
Yeah, that's all of them.
Awesome. Okay, let's just see Facebook here super quick. Yeah, that's it. Awesome. So for those of you that made it this far to pretty much a full hour, thank you guys for coming to hang out with me today. In 2 weeks, on the 17th, we have the team leader panel, which is going to be 5 or 6 team leaders that are all just going to be on this call answering your questions. So make sure you guys come with some questions to ask them. I'm not sure if we're going to do it on a specific topic or just fully open-ended. And then after that, in mid-November, we're going to have Mehul and Chuck run the alumni team leader session. And it's not really going to be a panel. They're going to do some content. And then in December, we've got Rachel Bell, international speaker, coach at GYLP, running that session. And so that's that. And then we've got the coach panel mid-December. So you guys can all look forward to that. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys very soon.